Again.
Yay.
Good evening, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
A Sacred Sounds of Coffee, not on a Monday. First one since Jody has been out sick. Jody, we're sending you love and healing in your recovery. Jody Roberts, who I usually do Sacred Sounds of Coffee with. And Gale was gracious enough. I said, would you like to do a Sacred Sounds of
Yes.
Coffee with me? And she said, yes.
Yeah, it's so important to hold space for you, Jody. Until those purple gym shoes come walking back here, we'll keep the fires burning.
That's right. We miss you. I haven't done one of these since she's been out since springtime. So to kind of relaunch it, we decided we'd do a Saturday night for the first one. In the future, we're going to do Friday mornings at 10 a.m. Central Time, 11 Eastern, first Friday of each month. And we're going to alternate channels. So next month we'll be on Gale's channel, which is Spark Soul Therapy, Spark with an exclamation point. I pinned a link to her channel, and I've also been posting her website. So if you scroll up in the comments, you can find out how to get to her.
Yeah,
Make sure
it's a
you
little
subscribe before the first Friday in October.
yay. This is so exciting. So I'm doing Sacred Sounds of Cinnamon Stick Tea this evening because it's so late.
I thought I told that because it's 9 p.m. our time here in
Yeah.
Central Time. We're both in Central Time. We're both in Illinois. So I was telling Gail, I said, I don't usually drink coffee this late at night, and we probably shouldn't do these on a Saturday night continuously because I don't drink coffee that
No.
late at night.
But it was a great time to do it, and I've missed you guys doing Sacred Sounds, and I think everybody else has too. So we will hold space.
And for those who are new to Sacred Sounds of Coffee, we pick a topic and chit chat back and forth, and then in the last 10 or 15 minutes we do a little meditation and a sound healing bath. So that's why I wanted to invite Gale. Gale has actually studied with Jody.
Yep.
So she's been trained. The only thing that Gale and I both we love Jody's big gongs that she has,
Yes.
and they're very expensive,
Yes,
and
they
neither
are.
one of us have those, so we will miss the gongs tonight. But we've been doing a little sound check, and it sounds beautiful. So I think you
Yeah.
guys will enjoy it anyway.
Yes, I hope so. Yeah. The girlfriend still got her savings account for that gong. I'm working on it. But
It's on
boy,
the
those
wish.
things, whoo, it's in the
And
cart.
for those who want to see previous Sacred Sounds of Coffees and hear the gongs and stuff, I have a playlist on my channel called Sacred Sounds of Coffee, and all the videos that I've done with Jody are in there. This one I'll put in there later after we finish it. Um, you can always, a lot of people come back and just replay the meditation part over. So feel free to peruse the Sacred Sound of Coffee videos. We usually have a different topic each time.
Yep.
Gail, tell us a little bit about your Spark channel while people are coming in. What type
Yeah.
of videos are you putting on Spark?
So it's a big variety. So I kind of do, I mean, it's like a creative healing kind of thing, creative wellness almost. So I
Gail is
do,
very creative, very creative, and she also makes you feel good. Like you don't have to be a professional at some of the things. Just have fun with it. That's the
just do
joy
it.
of it.
Yes, and that's the whole point. It really is just being well and healing. There's some kind of meditation and sound stuff. There's some art videos. There's some inspiring women's stuff. There's a lot of journaling activities. So there's just a mix of things to be happy and well. And if I think of it, I put it on there.
That's
So we're
awesome.
getting there. It's newer. It takes time to build, right? I mean, it just, but
It's great stress relief.
yeah,
It's like in these times, everybody gets stressed, between politics and life and
yes.
changes going on. What we have 6 planets that went retrograde. That
Yep.
was a little crazy.
Was crazy.
They're starting to
Absolutely.
come out now.
Yeah, yeah. They're starting to come out. Yeah, we did. Yeah, I think we still have one. I'm trying to think of what it is. But yeah, I just think, that's actually what started the channel, was just a need of people at their wits' end, just needing to heal, just needing something to like laugh and be silly, and or just meditate and shut everything off for a bit. And yeah, so
That's why we have fun with Petty Boots on Sunday night, because it gets
yes.
people laughing about politics and stuff. But this will not be Petty Boots. We're not going to get all raunchy. It's Sacred Sounds of Coffee.
That'll
Um,
be tomorrow. So
the the name came from Jody and me talking about what we wanted to call these little sessions, and I was sitting there slurping coffee because I was half awake. I'd been up till like 3 a.m. yakking with Johnny and Becca, and I was like, okay, I need more coffee. Hang on.
Sacred
So,
Sounds of Coffee.
and Lucy jumped on my table earlier and sloshed my coffee all over it. So the outside of the mug is all sticky. I've got sticky coffee here, so I can't wait to like wash the cloth on my table later.
Thank you so much, Lucy girl. And there she is. She's not going to move either.
She is she is mellowed out. She is liking it.
She's a doll. Oh my gosh. It's been a while since we've seen a garden video with Lou.
Yeah, it got too hot in August, so I didn't take her out much. And then those are quite healing, I think, watching her
They
walk.
are.
And then it kept raining when I had time between readings to take her out. Yeah, so I haven't done one. And now the garden's getting, the
Yeah.
fall. It needs the fall cleanup.
That late August loveliness.
Which
It's
brings
all
us
brown and dead flowers.
it brings us to tonight's topic, which is kind of
Yes.
fall cleanup for the soul, fall into healing. So we wanted to talk for a little bit about, with the holidays coming and the stress that can come with family and friends during the holiday season. We wanted to take a little time for a little self healing and to talk a little bit about what that means to us. So you do you, what works for you, but we're going to give you some suggestions too, what works for us, and how to recognize when there's something that needs to be healed. I think, maybe first we just should talk a little bit about triggers. Like, how do you know
Yes.
when you need to do a little self healing?
Right.
For me, a trigger is like something where I find myself getting a little upset or a little angry or a little teary-eyed even.
Yep.
It may bring up some unusual emotions that aren't my day-to-day emotions.
Right. And,
And I'm like,
yeah.
I have to pause and think about sorry, I'm drinking a caramel flavored coffee, so it's making me cough a little bit. I have to stop and think about, why is that triggering me? Why is that
Right.
making me a little angry or a little resentful or a little bit sad? What's it triggering and why?
Yes.
Do you have other things you recognize as triggers or?
Yeah, I think definitely one thing to notice when you start to get that emotional feeling is checking in with your body also, because either your stomach will tighten up, your throat will tighten up, you'll start to get a headache. Always to be in tune with your body, with emotions, because we store it all in there, right? I mean,
Yeah,
our
my
cells
my
grab onto
shoulders
it.
and shoulder blades. That's where I get tense. I'm like, ooh, ooh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, what's going on here? And I think, yeah, absolutely. Just to figure out, okay, was it work? Was it, start narrowing down the regular suspects? Is it work? Is it
It, I think
relationship?
it's
Is it
important
friends?
to remember too, perspectives and things and free will. You can't change someone else's behavior. You can only
Absolutely.
change how you react to it. So when you're feeling triggered, you may not be able to do anything about whatever's triggering it. When you figure it out, you can set boundaries, and try to work with that a little bit, but you can only change how you react.
Absolutely.
So that's where you have to kind of figure out, what's triggering me. Why am I
Right.
feeling like this? Why am I getting keyed up?
Yeah.
Um, and
And
then
what do I do to manage? So, you got to have a whole arsenal of things, to do during different types, because we get triggered in so many different ways. Sometimes it's sadness, sometimes it's fury, sometimes, so we manage those in different ways. Sometimes, you can read a book, or go to off into distant lands, but sometimes you got to take a run or take a walk, or It's just too
Absolutely.
much.
Yep. Stress, which, is a sign there's a trigger when you feel stress.
Mhm.
So, you know, trigger may be, ooh, I don't know if I have enough money to pay rent or my mortgage this month.
Right.
Those kind of things can trigger a feeling of lack or something like that. And it causes stress. Stress, like if you're diabetic, it can make your sugar jump. It can
Absolutely.
make your heart rate go up. So a lot of times, as simple as taking a walk around the block a
Yeah.
couple of times will bring that back down into alignment.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. And I think it's just the awareness piece is so important because we run, 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 and we don't stop and think, wait a minute, what's going on here? What's the matter with me? This is not normal. We don't give ourselves permission to figure out what's going on. We get over it, move on, all this kind of stuff. Yeah.
We don't take time to nurture ourselves. It's like
No.
a lot of us that are givers, we find it easy to give, but we find it difficult to receive. And
Yes.
sometimes the person we need to be giving to is ourselves. So
100%.
doing something that you enjoy, give back to yourself and give back to your soul to nurture it. If it's me and Lucy sitting on the garden bench having a cup of coffee together, enjoying the garden.
Right.
Um,
That's
for,
like
for me,
heaven.
the big one is bubble baths. That, a candlelight
Yes.
bubble bath, that's my biggest treat.
Yeah. That's actually, I'm an Epsom salt bather, but that tub, oh boy. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I have to
lavender
be careful with what types of bubble baths I use because they can cause, female
trouble.
problems, if you know what I mean. Bye,
Yep.
Lucy. Um, but yeah, and that's my favorite place to meditate, to get in touch with my higher self, to go within and get in touch with my guides.
Yeah.
I'm not somebody that sits there and goes on to meditate. I love to
Right.
meditate in the bath
Yeah,
or
that's
on my
awesome.
garden bench.
Yep, I'm a outside I'll sit in I have a little egg chair on my porch and I just go in and go away. And in yoga class, I do yoga like 3 times a week, so I go in there and I'm just out of my body. As soon as I get on that mat, I'm gone. So, but it just depends. Like, it's important to know which ones work for you,
Yeah.
and give yourself the time, especially now. And I think, because we're getting into winter, we equinoxed last night, I think, during the night. We had our equal, I think it was last night, although they say depending on where we are longitudinally, latitudinally, it's all a little bit different, but we are headed into the shorter days now. So we have the time to do a little reflection. It's going to get dark earlier, blah, 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 all the things. So it's a good time to dig in and find out what you need.
Yeah, Linda, that's a good point too. Laughter, to
Oh
when you're
my God.
feeling stressed, laughter is a great stress relief too. Call a
Yes.
friend and have a laugh, or watch, as she suggested, a funny movie.
Yes.
Um, there's certain movies that, even if not just comedies, there's certain movies I gravitate to when I need to nourish myself, because there's
Absolutely.
something about the beautiful storyline in a movie that resonates with me.
Yep. No, me too, definitely. And I watch a lot of old, like Fred and Ginger's, or like those just happy, silly ones where things were just light, and like some of those. And I remember I had a boyfriend. You know what? I think you need to go put in one of those gray movies because
You're getting it keyed up a little bit.
you're a little keyed up. So I
You know,
think it's
it,
time for a gray movie. Or some days I come home from work, I'm like, I need a blankie and a Disney movie. This is done.
Yeah.
You know,
Sometimes you have to learn how to set boundaries too, though. So, like,
absolutely.
which is really hard if you're out in the corporate world or out at work, to set boundaries, because you're going to have to see those people over and over, and they'll keep pushing
Absolutely.
those triggers sometimes, especially if you work
Yes.
with a narcissist.
Yep.
They just keep coming and coming and coming a
Yep.
lot of
And
times.
you
So,
don't always have a choice. I mean, you there you are. You can't change, you can't walk away from that relationship. So,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
I find when people like to push triggers, especially from a narcissist, the less you talk about personal things,
Absolutely.
the less they quit coming to you, because they like to get information on you they can use
Yes.
later and trigger you again and again. So
100%.
I like what they call it, going gray rock, like make yourself boring. They'll go away. They'll leave you alone because you're too
Yep.
boring.
Yes,
So
yes, absolutely.
people
True.
like that, if you have trouble setting a boundary, just try to make yourself as boring as possible. They won't be as attracted to you. They'll find somebody else.
Yep,
Um, Boundaries, if you set boundaries, you have to be willing to enforce them. So if you say, okay, I'm not going to let them treat me that way, well, what are you going to do about it? Like, so
right,
you have to know what the consequence is going to be that you're going to stick to if somebody crosses a boundary. And
absolutely. And I
if
think it's, yeah, good to have that conversation with yourself in your head ahead of time, and lay it out and know what's gonna, to your the best of your ability, know what's gonna come next. Figure out what your words are if that's something you struggle with. Lay it all out ahead of time. You can't, you don't want to make situations before they happen, but it's really important to plan ahead with that stuff.
so,
Especially headed into the holidays. I
yeah.
mean, you're with family, and depending on how your family celebrates, like, sometimes you got to set a watch and be out that door before the beer cans start flying. Or, depending, or sometimes, some families are cold as ice and everybody smiles and they're ready to, it's just as bad. I mean, so
Or
it's
if they
good to
get into
say.
politics,
Oh my gosh, yeah. So I think, yeah, during the holidays, especially, like if there's certain events you have to limit your time with, or stay at the end of the house from certain
or
people.
detach completely from,
Absolutely.
if there are people that trigger too much,
Yep,
then you may have to completely detach. I bless them on their own
absolutely.
journey. They're doing the best they
Yes,
can. I don't have to be a part of that journey.
absolutely. It's okay to not go to things. It's, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Giving yourself permission
Yes,
to nurture yourself first and love yourself first. It's like I love myself enough that I'm not going to let that person treat me that way.
right. It's hard. It's so hard for people. Like, it's amazing. Like, doing therapy with people, so many people, they're like, when you give them permission, and I'm not giving I'm giving you permission to give yourself permission. It has nothing to do with me. But the relief on people's faces when they realize, oh my God, I can, like, not do that, or I'm not a bad person, or oh my goodness, it's so huge, that permission piece.
Yeah,
So
society puts a lot of pressure on us that we must love someone because they're family, and it's really
right.
hard to say,
How
"No, I don't."
stupid is that?
Yeah, I don't have to send
But
anger,
yes.
resentment,
Yeah,
regrets, or I don't have to send love either. I can take the middle path that's the Tibetan way. Take the
absolutely.
middle path, get neutral with it. I don't have to send any energy to that person. I can
Right.
just let them sit in their own energy.
Yes. Yeah. And they
So,
know that's not a comfortable place to be, so that's why they come for you. Your
what do
energy's
you
way
do?
better.
Yeah, when you've got a trigger and you're working on it and you go within and you figure out what it is that's triggering you and why. Like, is it bringing up a childhood trauma or
Right.
a trauma with a previous partner? Or where is that coming from? Um, how do you go about releasing that trigger to heal it? How do you go about the healing process?
Yeah, I think a lot of times it's, like, I'll reframe it as an adult, particularly if it's connected to something as a child. As an adult, how do I see this? It was very exaggerated in my child self, or I wasn't able to ask for what I needed, or something. I kind of reframe it as an adult, like, that person, boy, were they,
Or you weren't
you know,
allowed to express it as a child?
exactly. Yeah, 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 for sure. So I think as an adult, again, like the permission piece of just re-looking at that situation, wow, was that messed up? Because you think you're wrong when you're little, or and we carry all that with us.
A lot of it
So,
starts with self-love. Like, we think, "Oh, I
mhm,
don't deserve to be treated well," and you have to
right.
go within and learn
Absolutely.
self-love to heal some
Absolutely.
of that
That
trauma.
that is
Uh,
the biggest lesson we can learn in life, is self-love.
I
It's
always I
it's
always say that, when I do a guided meditation or something, I like to say, "Let the adult in you heal the child in you." So let the
Beautiful.
adult in you invite that inner child up to play and
Yes.
ask that child, like if you're meditating, ask that inner child. I call her Baby Jenny. My inner child is
Yes.
Baby
I
Jenny.
always have my people name. Yeah. Yeah.
I bring Baby Jenny from my subconscious mind up,
Yeah.
and I'll ask her, "What do and I'll imagine her standing in front of me. What do you
Absolutely.
need to help you heal? What else do you need so that you feel love and self love?"
Yes. That's
Um,
so beautiful. It's so important. Yeah, that's beautiful.
it's really hard when you have childhood trauma to
Yes.
get to some of those things and let it be healed. As
Yes.
if there's an adult relationship you had that has a trauma attached to it, you can let the wiser adult in you heal what happened in that
Yes.
relationship. There is no right or
Mhm.
wrong. It's always what you learn from it. So
Absolutely. And what makes your world better?
yeah,
There's no judgment there,
I've
that's
always
just
liked to do lists. So like my parents, that very abusive. I did a
Mhm.
lot of self healing in my 20s to release that energy,
Yes.
20s and 30s. And I
Mhm.
thought, why did I pick them to incarnate with? These nasty
Right.
narcissists that were abusive. I always say I experienced child abuse. I'm the victim of nothing. So I do not like
Right.
victimhood. I don't like to get into that energy.
Yep.
So I'm very neutral with it and can talk about it. But I was like, why did I pick them? I actually made a
Mhm.
list of what I learned from my mother and from my
Yes.
father, and I was surprised,
Wow.
like things like my dad, because he was so mentally, physically, and emotionally abusive, taught me to be fiercely independent to keep a roof over my head because hell would
Right.
freeze over before I'd move back home, right? So he taught me to be very independent and to have ambition in my work life and to push myself to do better and to get those pay raises and things so that I
Right.
had my own independence and could take care of myself. My mom was actually quite creative, even though she was a narcissist. So a lot of my creative gifts I learned from her: how to knit, how to
Okay.
crochet, my love of
Yeah.
music, those kind of things. But I
Right.
find making lists of what I learned, whether it's a negative or a positive, I
Yes.
learned from it. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah, and I myself too, I have, of course, a history of abuse also. I mean, I think we're like, you're speaking my we have so
I
much of
think
that we share.
I
But,
think there's very few people that get out of childhood
agreed.
without
Yeah.
some form of abuse. I think there are
Yes.
some, like my father, he was all rage.
Mhm.
Um, like I was lucky to survive. I see kids every day that
Mhm.
die, from abuse. So I
Right.
feel blessed that I was able to survive it.
Mhm.
Um, but there's any kind of hurt is a hurt. So if it's
Absolutely.
just your mother could never pick you up at school on time, feeling neglected a little bit,
It's just how
um,
big it is inside of you, and
yeah,
it's valid.
all
It's
those,
completely valid.
they're all valid. They're all
Yeah.
valid. So if you feel a hurt or pain or something, there's a trigger there that um, you can look at it and figure out, okay, how do I release
Absolutely.
this? My other thing I like to do when I'm releasing energetically from someone, I like
Yes.
to write it on a piece of paper, put it in a bowl, and take it outside and burn it. So
That's so nice.
my parents, I wrote down. I'll never forget the night I wrote down on a piece of paper. I release my mother and my father from the soul contract with them and the karma with them as I release myself. And I took it
Nice.
outside and I love watching the smoke go up. I put a little sage
Yeah.
on a piece of paper and I watched the smoke go up and
It's
out into the
beautiful.
universe and felt this weight come off my shoulders.
Yes. Yes. I have done EMDR therapy. I actually am, and talk about the gifts that we're given from abuse. I became a therapist because I was abused, because it overwhelmed my life to such a point. And I went through EMDR as a client
Mhm.
and then learned how to do it with trauma victims and trauma survivors, not victims.
Yeah.
But I do remember a specific day with my therapist with doing something very similar, because I was just finally to that release point, and I was still a mess, but being able to, like, I did a lot of art art therapy with that also. But just writing that big letter and just being torching it and just, yeah,
Yeah. I
it's
mean, sometimes, the anger will take a hold of us and stuff. I can remember in my early days of healing from the trauma, sometimes I would just pick up a pillow and scream into it to let the anger out because I was like, I got to get this anger out of my
yeah,
body because I could feel it in
yes,
my body. I've just got to get
yes,
it out. And had to just scream in a pillow for a few minutes to get that anger out before I could focus on my lists
right,
and things and
right, right,
realize
right,
what I could do for me to nurture
absolutely.
me.
Yes. And you have to. I mean, I still go through stages of anger now. You do so much work, you get to a point and you're
Mhm.
going along, and then you kind of need to take the next step. It's a lifelong process when you've had trauma.
Yeah, I think I
You
think
know,
it's true though that a lot of people that have had trauma go on to help others. So like, me as a reader and an
yep,
energy healer, um,
absolutely.
I'll steer people towards starting the healing journey when
Right.
that comes up in a reading a little bit if they're still, and I've read for people 75 years old still hanging on to childhood
Right.
trauma. Um,
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes. I can say I've had that experience also where people come in and a lot of women also, that it's amazing how prevalent sexual abuse is, and just
yes.
weird sexual assaults from fathers, brothers, cousins, boyfriends, from somebody in the family, like just crazy stuff. Female on female abuse. Like there's just a lot of women. I don't think I've ever met a client, a female client, that hasn't had some kind of sexual abuse or
It's
sexual
something
trauma.
because like as a child, and even a teenager, I thought I'm the only one in this school,
Mhm.
that's going through this. And
Right.
as a reader, I can tell you it's
Yes.
very common forms of abuse. So
Hmm.
um, it's like wow, if I could look back and tell baby Jenny, no, you're
Yeah.
not the only one that experienced abuse, and things.
Yes.
It's like you just feel so isolated as a child dealing
Oh
with
my
it.
God.
So you
Yes.
try to mask it. You do anything you can to mask it and not get attention,
Yep.
um,
Yes. And
or
your
get a
life
different
ends
type
up
of attention.
going. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. It's
Um,
incredible.
I find, I have certain little meditations that I like to guide myself through for healing. I don't like to listen to meditations where somebody else is talking too much because it
Mhm.
interrupts me when
Right.
I'm getting messages from my guides
Yep.
and angels. So I like to do self-guided, so whether you imagine you're leaning against a tree and just feeling that tree
Yes.
nurturing you and then just going within and seeing what your guides want to tell you. I have other meditations I do where I go to a special temple on a hill. It's my temple. It's my sacred temple, and I'll wind up the path, and the path changes every time I go up it. Sometimes it's gold or glittery, sometimes it's like a dirt path, sometimes it's brick or stone. It changes every time I go up the hill. But I'll go
Right.
into my sacred temple, and when I open the door, all my guides are there, all my angels are there,
Nice.
all my departed loved ones, all my departed pets are there if I want to see them. And I can go and see if someone has a message for me, or I can go and ask a question if I want to, and just go within, and I can ask
Mhm.
them to help me heal if I've got a trauma I'm trying to release.
Right. Yeah, it comes up in so many ways. Like, and I notice that yoga practice has been an incredible way. I swear, every time I do twists, we'll do like, kind of spinal twists, full body twists. Every time I do a twist, I get some past chunk of trauma that comes out, that just wherever the cells are holding it, boy, that's a for sure sign that I'm going to be having a rough night once I leave there. I've come home from yoga sobbing because I've released something in a
Something.
particular pose or a particular, yeah, it's incredible, but it's a great healer. Like, you let go, it's beautiful. I noticed there was a commenter, watcher said it's like peeling away the layers of an onion. That's so
Mm-hmm.
true. It just kind of comes off as it comes off as we go through life, and you never get totally. There's always, it's just a journey. It's once you've been through it, it's There's no day where you're like, okay, I'm completely healed, we're done. It
You
just is what, it comes up as it comes up. And
it's
I
interesting too because like sometimes we can hang on to a little bit of a trauma from a past lifetime, and I'll give you an
agree.
example of
I
this because
was just gonna say
I
that.
did a lot of past life regression with like Brian Weiss, who wrote Many Lives,
Mhm.
Many Masters, and
Yep.
I can regress myself now, so
Nice.
I can go back and see like where's that coming from because it's not
Right.
this lifetime. Where's that coming from? I had a lifetime turn of the century where I died from leukemia, a blood disorder. And when I was younger, I kept getting anemic all the time. And as soon as
Ah,
I did that past life regression, I never got anemic again. It's like I
I love
released
it.
that connection to a blood disorder and never had a problem with anemia again. So sometimes,
Awesome.
if you can't figure out where it's coming from in this lifetime,
Right.
just be quiet and ask, is there a past lifetime that this came from?
Exactly, because every cell in our body is still carrying that stuff, even as incarnated in a different body. Like once our soul comes, I think it just, kind of that. Um,
And if you can't figure out where it came from, you can still release it. You know,
Absolutely.
another way I like to release things, like especially in the winter time, because we go like -20 in the winter here, so I'm
Yeah.
not burning things in bowls outside in the winter. Um,
Oh,
sometimes I'll just imagine it in my hand, and I'll imagine it like a ball that just gets tighter and tighter and just gets wound up, and then I blow it away from me. I
nice.
just release it to the
Yes.
universe.
Yes. I'm a big journaler, so I just will sometimes do, kind of the form of a Julia Cameron morning pages kind of thing and just write till I'm exhausted with whatever's coming up. But I also do, if I'm having a rough time with things, I'll pull, I have certain tarot decks or oracle decks that I do for shadow work and heal and, trigger work. And so I know those decks are really, rough and they're, whatever, but I know I'm going to get some truth out of there. And I just focus on what that card needs to tell me and I'll journal it out. That's another big one for me.
I'm a big journaler too, and I was laughing one day. I was going back through a journal from my 20. I saved my journals. I
Isn't it
was going
great?
back through,
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
I was going back through a journal from when I was like in my mid 20s when I was doing a lot of the healing work, and
Yes.
on across 2 pages in this journal, it was just FUCK, real big
Ah!
exclamation point, and I remember that so clearly. Like I was like, oh,
Oh,
and I remember closing that journal, walking away, taking myself on a walk, and then coming back and writing out the feelings and why I
yes.
had written that. But I was just laughing. It was like, sometimes that's
It
the shortest prayer in the world.
Yes, we are living like, oh my God, that's so funny. So I do something called process painting also, which is it's not about art. It's not about making a piece of art. You just start with whatever color pulls you, whatever, and you just go. And you don't, and it's process. It's psychological process. And I have a huge one that's this little girl, and she busted through this brick wall, and she was like, "Fuck you!" And it's this huge "fuck you" on the page. That was like 4 hours straight of painting.
Yeah.
And that's what came out. It's important. I mean, yeah, it's so funny, but there's a
Something
lot of once you're conscious of that what's going on, it's the anger comes with it.
music is another great way to release, which is why
Mhm.
we have sound bath later. Music is very healing for me and will get me going within to think about things a lot of times. So a lot of times it's just putting on some music low and allowing
Absolutely.
myself to go within and figure things out. Um,
Yes. And I think only being careful, like if I go down the rabbit hole with like really angry songs or something, you gotta be careful with that. Sometimes, you're your own worst enemy. But
but
yeah,
and
I think
sometimes, like when you go within, like for me, like acoustic music, a lot of times I'll go
absolutely
within
no lyrics.
no lyrics, just acoustic or
Yeah.
classical sometimes. Um, but I'll go within, and then to get my energy back up, I'll put on something I like to dance to, and I'll dance around the kitchen.
Yes.
Yeah, so I like
That's
to get that
awesome.
energy going, and that frees up, that gets my energy moving. A lot of
Yes.
times, like you'll feel stuck. You feel like you can't move
Mhm.
forward, and you just get lethargic, and it's like, oh, woe is me. I don't know what's wrong.
Yes.
So a lot of times a baby step, you know, taking a walk
Mhm.
around the block, dancing in your kitchen like nobody's
Yep,
watching, because nobody's watching.
yep.
Except me. No.
Yeah, yeah.
Just doing a few things, little baby steps. If you know, after COVID here, we've all been in lockdown, right? We haven't been able to go
Absolutely.
out. And if you're like struggling to find a way to get back out in society a little bit, baby steps.
Yes.
A walk around your neighborhood, a walk around the grocery store, a walk around a bookstore.
Yep.
Take some baby steps in uncrowded places where you're very comfortable
Yes.
to do your own
Absolutely.
thing.
There's
But
all
for
like we all have those stores that we love. Like my nephew, his little healing spot is Target. And so if he's upset or whatever, he walks around Target. Like we all, Bath and Body, some of these places that just have products that you love and you feel happy, just wander around there for a little bit. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
get you a
true.
good smelling candle for some aromatherapy or
Right.
some
Yes.
good bubble bath, a
Yeah.
good book to read, your favorite
Of
author,
course.
something like that.
Yeah, if I'm in one of those really stuck spots, I am a reader, and I'm like, you know what? Cut yourself some slack, crawl in bed with your or blanket on the couch with a book. I mean, it's and I allow myself. I don't care. And it's not, feeling a little funky tonight, and just it's not happening. So we're gonna go somewhere else.
Uh,
And I love books. Oh my God,
Gail
I'm actually building my winter stack.
Gail
um,
has written a book. We're going to have a
oh
episode
yeah,
later in October, November sometime. We're going to have an episode to talk about her book. She's sending it to me so I can read it, so I can talk
yeah,
intelligently about it. um, but yeah, just taking that time to if you have a loss, and you feel
mhm,
like you've lost your way, either loss of a job, loss of a loved one, loss of a pet,
yeah,
grief takes time. And when you lose a job, you do grieve. Give yourself that permission, but also um, give yourself some momentum to take a baby step back into life so that you don't
yes,
get stuck in the grief process.
absolutely,
When you first are grieving, by all means, do what you need to do to grieve when something first happens, but then
yes. And
start
the
taking
time too.
baby
I
steps.
mean, it takes some people a couple years, and they're still, you're taking baby steps, and it just takes longer because they're absolutely devastated. People that have lost their only child, or but a lot, don't let anybody tell you how long you should grieve or not grieve. It's really important to just allow yourself and keep taking the baby steps, and just yeah,
Yeah, the baby step may be to join a grief circle where you can share your grief with others who have also been through it. So,
right,
um, you know, don't feel like you're the only person in the world this has happened
right.
to. There are many
That is,
people
yes, that's
that
one
can
of the
relate to
biggest
feeling.
for grief. Yes, is the group work, just to not feel so isolated and so alone.
And
It's
grief is
huge.
hard because, like, sometimes your friends, they've got their own life and things that are going on, so sometimes you feel isolated because your friends don't have time to check in with you every day to
Right,
see how you're doing with the grief, and you start feeling alone and nobody cares.
right.
And at that point, then it's up to you to take a step towards helping with the grief process if you need to. So if it's joining a group, um, or scheduling time with that friend that you enjoy being with to go for a cup of coffee or something.
Yeah.
Sacred coffee, right?
Right, right.
um,
Yes.
if
You
it's
know,
talking
that's
to
there's
a
also
pastor at church or something.
right, for sure. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's, because people, I mean, it's funny after somebody passes, you get the casseroles and the people helping and this and that for a few weeks or a month, and then it kind of starts to fade, and you're left with your own grief and your own sadness. So yeah, it can really take a bit to get back on your feet, but it's important, and nobody can do that work for you, and nobody can tell you what your timeline is other than
Darren, that's so
yourself.
true, and always quality cat time.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Even
After
when
my
you're
mom,
grieving from the loss of
yes.
a pet,
Oh,
animals
there
do
was,
help us.
somebody in the chat that had mentioned she just had to put her dog down this week. That was earlier on,
Yeah, take
but
that
it's
time to
devastating.
grieve that, and then, appreciate the time that you are allowed to care for that pet. It doesn't matter if the cat that I cried over the most that I had to put down, I'd only had for like 2 months, and, uh, I've had cats that lived to be 21 and a half years old, so, most of my cats tend to live longer, but this one was kinda dumped on me, and
Yeah.
I only
Yep.
had him for 2 months and discovered he was very ill and had to put him down. I cried more over that cat than I did the one that I
Yes.
had for 20 years.
It's so hard. Oh my
It was
goodness.
weird. It was like, "Where is this coming from? I only had him for," but,
Mhm.
you grow to love something, and, you
Absolutely.
have to appreciate the time that you have, whether it's a human or a pet or whatever. Appreciate the
Yes.
time that we're given to share, and grieve their physical loss, but know they're still with you.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, there's days when I'll have my retriever back. I had a shepherd chow that passed really suddenly, but I had him for probably 8 years or so, and it's just there's days where I can feel them licking my face. It's just that there are fur babies. There's nothing like it, and losing them, oof, yeah.
Yeah,
But they're always here.
because the time is different with everyone. Don't let anyone tell you when you're ready for another pet. You'll know when you're ready for another pet. So, um, take the time that you need to grieve, and then when you're ready, you can step out and look for another pet. But pet
Absolutely.
pet time is a great way for self healing too, because
Oh,
pets will get you in the moment. Talk about, they don't think about the future, they don't think about the past. They
no.
are right there in the moment. They
Right
get you
there. You
grounded.
know, yeah, when my mother passed, I was in my 20s and she died very suddenly, and I adopted a cat after she passed pretty quickly, and I would wake up every morning and sob, and that cat, she I called her grandmother because she was older. A lady went into a nursing home and had to give her up, and she would come and sit next to me. She wouldn't lick me. She would just lean against me. She would immediately, as soon as I would wake up and start to cry, she'd be just there. And I never, I mean, she was like the matriarch of our little family, myself and all the other animals. But they're such healers. It's such an amazing thing. Yeah.
We're all different. We all have different personalities and likes. So, learning that self healing, learning that self love,
Yeah.
um, is very therapeutic. So you have to do, if it's baby steps, you have to do what you enjoy,
Yes.
to help bring a sense of peace in your soul and contentment. So nobody
Absolutely.
else can tell you what that is. You know what that is. For me,
Yes.
is sitting in my garden, the bubble baths. I like to bowl. So sometimes, something that I like to do for myself is go bowling, getting a massage or getting a pedicure, those kind of things.
Yes. And I would say I love music so much. And I think picking up the healing bowls and knowing that not only is there the music piece but the spiritual piece. And
Mhm.
lately which way is it, the little stick you see behind me? I never know, I'm always backwards over there. I started learning very early on, but starting to learn the Native American flute.
Beautiful.
So it's just, but you feel the healing. Not when you're listening, you feel the healing, but when you're actually playing, it's just, you can feel it coming through you. And that, boy, that
Feel
was
the
a
vibration.
discovery. Yeah.
I have some music, metaphysic music I like to listen to, where I'll pretend I have ears all over my body, up and down my arms and legs and my torso, and I'll take that sound in through those ears,
Love
and you
that.
can feel it strum up and down your chakras. You'll feel it
Yep.
like up and down. So,
Yes.
um, try
It's
that when you're
beautiful.
listening to music. It's really interesting when you feel all those different chords and things and notes strumming
Yeah,
through the body.
absolutely. It's beautiful.
And find a healer, an energy healer. Those can be a great way to, serve yourself. Go in person, have a healing session with someone.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've worked on someone, been in person, and hit their heart chakra or their throat chakra where they're stifling their truth, and just watch them go into full tears and have to tell them
Yes.
you're in a safe place to release that. Just let it go. Tears
Right.
are healing. And how often that happens. It was interesting in Sedona because one of the other readers that was there in Sedona with me said, "Do you see how many people go into tears when you're working on them?" I said, "Yeah, because they're releasing, they're flushing it out,
Yes,
releasing."
absolutely. Oh my God, and you were amazing. I've been to in Sedona with you, and oh my gosh, you are amazing energy healer.
Thank you.
That is an incredible gift. Yeah, it
Yeah,
is, and there were a lot of emotions in those rooms,
yeah.
in those
Some people will
sessions.
go into full ugly cry,
Yes,
and you just let them
absolutely.
know you're in a safe place. Just let it out and send that
Yes,
energy in to heal. Some
yes,
it's like quiet tears, and you just remind them you're in a safe place. So
yeah. And boy, some of that stuff has been stuck in there forever. And you try different ways. You could do regular talk therapy, you can do, body work, you can do, but you never know what's going to actually release it.
yeah,
Sometimes the
but I
the
think
energy
you do.
work.
Yeah, we do know when there is a trauma there. I
Yeah.
do think if
Oh yeah.
we would pay attention just for a minute, we know when there's a trauma there that needs to be healed. And traumas can be minor, they can be major. Um, it can be something as simple as, you know, somebody that I like and I thought was my friend said something derogatory to me yesterday that
Right.
hurt my heart. Like you feel it, like,
Yes.
oh, wounded,
Yes. Absolutely. Oh my goodness, yeah. And it's amazing when you carry a lot of that stuff for years, you don't even remember, "Oh my gosh, that person said this to me. I didn't even think I still remembered that." And there it is. So it's you never know. There's a
learning
lot
to
to release.
learning to speak your truth, learning to say when, okay, what you
Yeah.
said wounded me. They can choose to do something about it or not. Like they may acknowledge it and say, "Oh, I didn't realize you took it that way," or they may, well, that's your problem. So
Right.
and
Right.
technically it is how you
Yeah.
react, how you respond is your uh,
You're
it's not
learning.
really a problem. It's your learning of how am I going to address this, and then you have to
Right.
decide, well, am I going to keep putting myself in that person's path to keep doing that to me,
Right.
or am I going to, or are they going to change something so that they don't keep doing that to me?
And
You know,
their choice reflects whether or not you keep, you
yeah.
know,
I
communicating with that person or not. And yeah, it's you don't know, and you want to always try, to see
mhm,
where they're at, but you can't. The only person you can
can't
control is
force it.
yourself.
Yeah, I always say God gave you a brain, and my brain tells me not to put myself in the way of being abused
Right.
over and over and over again if there's a pattern of
Yes.
it. If it's a
Right.
one-time thing, it's usually
Yeah.
something like just a disagreement you can work out. But when there's a pattern to it, it's
Yes.
like, okay, he gave me a brain. If that person's going to keep doing this and not honoring my boundaries, then I need to just completely detach.
Absolutely. Yes. 100%.
Well, what do you
Yes.
say we do a little sound healing, sound bath to nourish our soul and a little meditation? Um,
Yes.
I have to I have to get my candle up high enough people can see it. Yeah, that'll work. When I
All
light
right.
it.
And I'm going to do some audio things here, and I'm going to go away. I'm going to mute myself for a little bit.
Yeah. Gail is having to put herself in stereo so the sound will be better. Mute your microphone, Gail, because there's an echo now. Oh, you are muted. That's better. Okay, the echo went away. Sorry. Had to make sure the echo wasn't there because when she goes in stereo, it makes me hear myself. So, um, everybody just take a nice, deep, cleansing breath. I like to breathe in like on a count of like 5 or 6. And I exhale through my mouth negative gray energy. So I like to breathe in white light and exhale negative gray energy. Um, Archangel Raphael, Archangel Michael, Archangel Gabriel, Archangel Ariel, and any other archangel you would like to call in. Thank you for blessing us with the ability to self heal. Thank you for making us aware of where we're holding trauma, where we're holding attachments, where we are being triggered, and helping us to release those. Thank you for the wisdom that we gain from our experiences, but the ability to release what no longer serves us. Thank you for allowing the adult in us heal the child in us, to nourish, care for, and love every aspect of our souls. Thank you for helping us to recognize when we are lacking in self love. Thank you for releasing all of our negative worries and fears and regret and anger that no longer serves us, to bring an abundance of happiness, contentment, and joy into our lives. That was wonderful. Skewy came up, of course, as soon as I lit the candle. So we had a little keep the candle away from him, but now he's all chilled listening to the chimes and bowls. I'm telling you, a cat will get you in the moment every time.
They are tremendous.
Hey,
They're
Johnny.
amazing.
So we're going to do these. This was our relaunch of Sacred Sounds of Coffee. Again, sending much white light and healing love to Jody Roberts, who I started Sacred Sounds of Coffee with. Jody, we love you. If you're watching this
Yes.
later, you guys, Sharon Sipe has been posting a link to Jody's channel. She's got on her community tab post, she's got a GoFundMe account if you'd like to donate to
Yes.
her, because she's been in rehab for months now,
Yes.
learning to walk again and everything. So
Yes.
I'm sure she would appreciate any donations. And
Yes.
Gail, thank you so much for doing this with me tonight.
Yes.
So
Jody, I'm keeping the seat warm. We're going I know you got a long road ahead. I'm so grateful she mentioned the other day that she was able to keep her house and her car based on everybody helping, but she's got a lot of therapy ahead. So yeah, just keep supporting Jody, and we're doing what we can. And I
yeah,
keep the seat warm for you till those sneakers walk back here. She's got beautiful purple sneakers. I don't know if you saw that, Jen. She
yeah.
posted them on. Yeah, you saw. They're so
We'll,
cute.
we'll get her a wheelie chair. She can go over and hit the gongs, from a wheelie chair.
Yes, I love it.
um,
Oh my
but
gosh, this has been so fun.
it's been so much fun, and thank you for doing this, for sitting in with me. We're going to be on Gail's channel, Spark Soul Therapy,
Yep.
first Friday of October at 10 a.m. Central Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Time.
Yes.
So hope you guys can join us, or you can watch it later if you're working.
Woohoo.
Sacred Sounds of Coffee. Again, there's a playlist on my channel that you can go to see previous episodes of Sacred Sounds of Coffee. And thank you all for joining us on a Saturday
Yes.
night.
How
We hope
fun.
we hope that you found this healing and helpful, and or at least enjoyed communing with some like-minded people.
Yes. Yes. Awesome. Woohoo.
Thank
Good
you,
to see
everyone. We
everybody.
will see you in
Thank you.
October.
Bye, everybody.